Good morning, folks. I'm Frank Connors, and I'm reading to you again this morning. It's the middle of April. Tax day's done. Here we go. Earth Day's coming. I'm reading to you from Speaking Frankly, and the story is called You Gotta Love April. You gotta love April. You just gotta love April. I mean, can you honestly think of another month, any month, that will offer as much variety or change or just plain old pizzazz as April? It starts, of course, with April Fool's Day, or All Fool's Day, and only gets better. I'm a guy who loves a good practical joke, and I do what I can to orchestrate a good one every April Fool's Day, or two. I consider it a right. I consider it a duty. Just ask Nancy March or John Willett. I don't want to brag, but I'm one up on both of them. I do have this circle of friends, potential victims all, who are always watching for ways to reciprocate. Get even, it's called. It's a great way to inflict a little excitement into all of our lives with no real harm done, of course. One example, we woke up one morning to find a bushel of horse dressing dumped on our front steps. It was a Sunday morning, and my mother came by with a plate of homemade donuts, just as I was shoveling the last of the stuff into a basket for delivery to our compost heap. "What's that?" says Mom. "Horse droppings," says I. "How do you suppose it got on your front steps?" she asked me. "Oh, I'm thinking a friend may have dumped it there last night," I said, smiling. "It's April Fool's Day, you know." Mom walked to the back door with the donuts, shaking her head and muttering something about me having weird friends. So before the month was ended, I determined from whom that donation came, and I managed to have some of the same horse droppings carefully filleted, draped with lettuce and seasoned with mustard, substituted for a meatloaf in my buddy's noonday sandwich. His wife was my co-conspirator on that. Of course, he never admitted to biting into it. And you know, I met my wife at an April Fool's Day party, but folks, that was no joke, at least not on me. So think about April's weather for a minute. Daylight savings time ends, so we end the month with a net gain of nearly 2 hours of daylight in 30 days. Who can complain about that? All the birds are back, from robins to ospreys to finches to Canada geese. The geese have to be my favorites, soaring in their great V formations, resting in newly opened fields, gaggling in their sociable groups, and honking as they plan the next leg of their trip, moving ever further north. It's not unusual to have one last good snowstorm for the month of April. My grandfather used to call it poor man's fertilizer, and he said it was a good thing. I don't want to jinx us, but given that this has been an old-fashioned winter, could this be the year of the next April blizzard? I now want to promise you, before this month ends, snow will be a novelty. Those last granulated piles of snow left on the shady sides of the barn or on the north slope in the woods are fun to hunt. I see it as a final triumph by me over winter. I take a son, a daughter, a friend, and seek it out. I find that last secreted drift, kick off its top, inspect the stained layers, and suck the moisture out of a handful of snow. I promise you, you never get sick doing that. There are always days of the month that are simply sensational. So nice that you just have to get outside, take a walk, or clean the leaves, the sticks and trash off your lawn. I like to find a south-facing corner and just sit. The sun is warm again, life abounds, and it becomes a moment to savor. Winter is done. Oh, I do hate to fill my wood box in April. April is the month to take stock of my wood supply. All winter long, the burled wood, the wet wood, the odd pieces, they all have been getting tossed here and there as I go for the good stuff and have dutifully lugged them all to the wood box. At some point in April, Jane will tell me it's okay to skip the night's fire in the wood stove, and that is another reason to celebrate. April becomes the month to restack, restock, and yes, this year, start putting up next season's wood. The rivers and lakes all have their ice out and then their high waters. Usually if the weather gets wet, there's a flood to visit. The kids and I often like to talk about walking Water Street in Brunswick or Augusta or Gardner, when the water is lapping in sheets along the pavement and the river is telling the public works crews who's really in charge. The little brook that babbles behind our house has a week or two of genuine roaring, flexing against its banks like it wants to be a river. April is a great time to turn a canoe over, chase the last pieces of ice out to the channel, and then get reacquainted with the sandbars and the ledges. Usually, only the sandbars have moved. But the real joys of April are the new life. The trees bud, they flower and break out. Lawns drain and seem to color overnight. There is a great rush and a great flush as the cold and the old is pushed aside and new life takes command. It tells us all that life is good, life is exciting, and life is again worth living. There is a life after winter, and April happens to be the exclamation point. So enjoy it and then go pay your taxes. Thanks for listening, folks. It's right here somewhere.
I'll cut this out.
Okay. Whoops, what did I do?
How much time does it need?
What did I do with that? Oh, for crying out loud.
Page 25.
Ah, okay. I'm sorry. All right.